How you doing, Goggles? Mark. Sounds weird to say Mark. I am sorry. This shit sucks. I have a long history of association. It hasn't impacted me, but I've been working pretty hard the last few years to make sure it doesn't. The reason I wanted to reach out, in 2000, after I lost my mother and my aunt to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, they lived on a farm. I think Grandpa Tom was saying, "Dude, check this out. I haven't seen a bug in 2 years. This is awesome." So either they got sprayed with something, but that particular cancer is often can start with environmental issues. What I have come to find, in 2000, my sister was diagnosed with stage 4 malignant melanoma. Obviously not a good thing. So I started out trying to learn everything I can. The prognosis that time was 12 to 14 months with aggressive chemotherapy. They weren't that good at chemotherapy back then. It was an incredible assault on the human body. It's gotten better. That is a good thing. The challenge is there are still so many things that happen to the body that are detrimental. What I found, that prognosis wasn't encouraging. You have to go through chemo, and it really doesn't buy you that much meaningful time, the quality of life issues. The decision we ultimately made, I found some research that was being done in Austria on cytokine therapy. It is a precursor to where they're at now with a lot of the more modern cancer treatments. They thought once we had the genome puzzle put together, we could just, there's all the genes, now we know exactly what's going on, but the reality is each of these genes was basically a control system for a protein factory, and so it got more complicated rather than less complicated. We sent her over there. She got to go see Austria a few times. Ultimately, she did pass away, but almost 3.5 years later, she was not sick. She did not have to go through chemotherapy. And that decision worked out pretty well. We've come a long way since then. With the research. The first thing I'll send you, because I will drip it in so it's not overwhelming, is a PhD, a researcher named Dr. Seyfried. That's phenomenal. What we're coming to understand, not we, they, I am not a clinician. I just work with them, and, most doctors are incredible and very well intended. The problem is that the research, and I'll send you information on this too, a lot of the stuff by Bobby Kennedy Jr. And others who looked at this thing more critically, our healthcare system is wrecked. Big Pharma controls the data that goes into the research. Oftentimes, the clinicians never even get to see the raw data. It's already been filtered to, come to the conclusion that they want it to. A lot of challenges with that, a lot of challenges with the way the money flows. But the biggest challenge is all the continuing education for the physicians comes from Big Pharma. It's a rigged deck. And many of these physicians now don't even have time to be a doctor because they have to put so many souls through the system so fast to make the money turn. Hospitals, incredibly challenging. Anyway, not to get off topic, here's the bright spot. There's some incredible results being achieved that don't involve traditional medicine. When I say traditional, I'm not talking about going out and foraging for roots and thinking that if you take a reishi mushroom you're going to cure it. But the evidence I'm seeing absolutely leads me to believe that this is a mitochondrial event. It happens at the cellular level, and this is also what I found researching my sister's shit in 2000. Otto Warburg was one of Hitler's doctors. He didn't want to be. Hitler told him he was going to be. He did some phenomenal research back in, I think it was 1934, in understanding how to starve a cancer cell. When a cell turns cancerous, it kind of feels like it's the last, it's trying to save its own life, and its communication with other cells has been cut off. So it thinks it's the only one left. It begins dividing and dividing and dividing in order to address the fact that it's the last man standing, and this will to survive is apparently present at the cellular level too. It's the key to the whole thing. Once that cell turns, it starts to want to feed via fermentation, so it needs sugar. It needs sugar, and it needs an anaerobic environment. So what they're finding is, take away the sugar, increase the O2 in the bloodstream, and you can suspend the progress of this cancer. They don't think that they're going to, it may not cure it all, but it's buying a lot of time and it's putting it in to essentially submission. It ain't easy to do. I mean, you've got to change your diet completely. I'm getting there with mine just because it's a much healthier way to live, and I'm 70 pounds less than I was a couple years ago. But it, most importantly, is something that you can do and not F up everything else or anything else that you may be attempting. Look at Seyfried's research first. And as I promised, I'll drip this stuff in so it doesn't get freaky. This is science. And this is science that's not paid for by people who have to generate profits. I've gotten to the point where I hate big pharma. I think it's probably one of the worst offenders of or root causes of all of the problems that we're having in our healthcare system. Our nation is not healthy, as you probably know. But there's a lot that you guys can do to move this forward, and it will require some lifestyle changes. Jesus, I hardly drink anymore. I mean, I think I've had 2 cocktails since the first of the year. But it can be done, man. And I'm thinking of you guys, and I'm praying for you guys, and lot to think through. But as you look through it, be open to the idea that all of the answers may not come from that one guy in that white coat. And again, my best friend was a physician. We worked closely for 30 years. We lost him to a heart attack a couple years ago. He was a power lifter. I didn't realize it, but they put so much stress on their systems that they banged their blood pressure up to 360. So he had a massive coronary blowout. Anyway, off track. Look at what what I'm sending you, and there's things you can start doing right away that make a big difference in what's going on at the cellular level with mitochondrial function. That, in my opinion, is the key. Now, again, my opinion don't mean shit, but as you go through this, you start to understand the logic of it all. And remember, I'll be praying for you guys. Okay, back to work. Harass me at will. I'll send stuff. I'm in Northville now. We're not far from Ann Arbor. I don't know what the treatment protocols you guys are looking at are going to entail. But if you get down here, you need a place, whatever, I'll do it. This is not, there are answers, and a lot of them are really cool. And we're going to see big changes in the next 10 years. But you guys need big changes in the next 10 weeks, 10 months. And I hope what I send you adds value. Okay, man. Love you.